they put themselves in this problem. Nobody should blame it. Look, between 1992 and 2000, if you were in this country, Nana Akufo-Addo was like a judicial terrorist.
What did he do?
He was perpetually in court against anything that Jerry Rawlings did. Look, the number of cases Akufo-Addo did against the JJR government between January 93 and December 2000, I won't speak to them. The law reports will speak to them.
Hi, good day and welcome to another edition of the Lowdown here on GhanaWeb TV. My name is Daniel Ojo. It promises to be another riveting conversation. Today my guest is the Member of Parliament for South Dai in the Volta region. He's also a member of the Public Accounts Committee. Many say he's the reason why certain ministers have not been approved or vetted and to assume their respective positions, because he's filed a suit at the Supreme Court seeking an interpretation whether or not Parliament needs prior approval or must give prior approval to certain ministers nominated by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. We'll also discuss a plethora of issues, his role as a Member of Parliament, whether he's seeking re-election in the 8th Parliament. The 7th Parliament is almost about ending with only a few months. He's a first-time MP. Maybe he wants to stay as long as possible, like the likes of Chairman Sabunsu and Speaker Bagben. So today we're going to have an interesting conversation. We also touch on the LGBT matter. He is seeking Parliament to transmit the bill to the President and also compel the President to receive the bill and make his position clear on the subject matter. Honorable, thank you very much for your time.
It's my pleasure.
I've been hoping to have you for some time now, but
yes.
You're a busy man.
Well, we try. The nature of the work is that you have to multitask.
I agree.
Doing several things at the same time.
I agree.
Able to achieve some positive results out of those. So
I agree.
I was unfortunate about 2 or 3 early arrangements.
But we're happy that you are here.
Today we are here.
Yeah.
Yes.
I couldn't help but notice your cap. I see Nehu, and I'm a big fan of Isaac Dogbe. So is it from your constituency?
No, it's from Ketu North.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but Nehu, it's actually a very powerful expression.
Okay.
In Neve.
Okay.
That is uproot.
Uproot.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So we are uprooting this government.
But you support Isaac Dogbe. I see Isaac Dogbe written on top of the cap.
No, but it's I mean, I'm a sports enthusiast.
Oh, okay.
Football, boxing, especially. So. I nearly became a boxer.
Really?
Yeah.
You have the starter for it. Isaac Dogbe and Sena Beko, and you have some boxers from the Volta region, so we wouldn't have been out of place at all.
In fact, one of the greatest boxers came from the Volta region. Uli Kluche, a sportsman, So Volta has had its fair share of very good boxers.
That's true. That's true.
Boxing
is very, very good along the coast. It would appear.
Yes.
Is there any cultural or historical reason?
Well, there's always a historical link. When the sports was introduced into the Gold Coast, it was mainly centered along the coast.
Okay.
That is how come even good boxers like Brian Kamoko and all those of northern extraction actually learn the boxing skills in southern Ghana. So what we may have to do is to be able to build sporting facilities in all urbanized areas.
I agree.
Including the entire north. Well, Isaac is working on something to build a facility in the Volta region.
Oh, okay.
So to harness talent, you never know. Talent abounds everywhere. What is important is to be able to discover them and nurture them.
Right.
We'll have good footballers, good tennis players, good boxers,
good athletes,
good sprinters or athletes anywhere from this country.
I agree.
The most important is to, when we're younger, during our school days, we used to do what we call the inter-schools and the inter-colleges.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that was what we were unearthing budding talents in sports, or the entire spectrum of sporting activities.
Yeah.
We had the middle games.
Yeah, yeah.
Where we're getting our under 17 and starless.
I agree. I agree.
So we need to bring all those things back.
We do. We do.
But those of us who grew up in Lagos Town, we call it Lagos Town.
Lagos or Newtown, Accra Newtown.
Yes.
That's where you grew up.
Yes.
I lived there for some time.
Okay. We call it Lagos Town.
Yes, yes.
Great boxers were produced from the Kongoro boxing gym.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
now I see where you get your firebrand from. That's for people who have stayed in Newtown. I mean, it's not a stereotype, but you have to be hard to survive in Lagos Town or Accra Newtown, which is close to Nima and all of that.
And later grew up in Mamobi.
Oh, nice.
You know. So that enclave.
Kutubabi, Nima, Mamobi. Yeah. These days, Fadama and Kotu, they are trying to come up.
Well, it's, you know, it's our people who moved to Fadama.
Yeah.
You know, old Fadama, where ICGC, you know, going to Agbugloshi.
Right.
That used to be Fadama.
Oh, okay.
Then, because of development and other things, so they left there and moved to what we call New Fadama,
yeah.
Close to La Paz.
True.
You know, North Carnation, that enclave.
True.
You know.
So
Oh,
now I see.
And a lot of people from Newtown.
Yeah.
Caprice. Alajo.
Yeah.
Ebony. Nima Mamobi.
Yeah.
Moved in. When, you know, young guys, when we are when we are growing up, you want to live your, so they move.
Nice.
So we will know the history.
Nice.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you. Today mainly we want to talk about.
But let me make these two quick corrections. I'm a second timer.
You're a second timer, okay.
Yes,
so you're in the 7th parliament.
Yes.
So this is the eighth parliament. Okay.
And I'm also a second timer, and I'm seeking re-election for
a third term.
For the third term.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah.
Wow, that's nice. We'll talk mainly about LGBT and your attempt to compel the president to, first of all, receive the bill from Parliament and all of that. But then, primarily, also that you've gone to court to say that the president didn't have the right to say that he's, if you like, transferring or reshuffling his ministers without prior approval from Parliament. Is that correct?
That's not correct.
So what are you seeking to do?
Okay. We woke up on the morning of 14th February.
Okay.
Valentine's Day.
Yes, the 14th February reshuffle.
And the president gave a very sweet Valentine to some number of his ministers.
Right.
By issuing a statement and saying publicly to us that he had dismissed all of them.
Okay.
And he didn't give them time to even do a handover notes. His language was, they have been relieved of their portfolios. That's number one. Number two, with immediate effect. Number three, he wished them well in their future endeavors. This was how the president signed off.
Okay.
So those who were in their official vehicles en route to the office that morning couldn't proceed any further when the announcement was made around 10 a.m. A new one told me that. That
he like everything comes to a halt immediately.
Yeah. But the man says you are relieved of your portfolio with immediate effect.
But if I've not seen it and I'm en route.
That used to be JJ Ronald's.
If I'm en route and I've not seen it, that would not mean that I can't move my vehicle.
No. In constitutional law, in constitutionalism, the day you are sworn in, okay, and you take your warrant of office, the moment you are given the warrant of office as a minister of state, that is the time and date your mandate begins.
Okay.
So if you were sworn in 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. on a certain date, that is the moment your mandate as a minister of so and so sector begins.
Okay.
That's the day that point 4 gives you the warrant of office. You know that Ghana flag role that they give them, that's the warrant of office. So when you are nominated, you are not appointed. Even when Parliament vets you, that's not the end.
Yeah.
You must be sworn in. You must take the oath of office pursuant to the constitutional provisions. Even then, the president can decide to delay it a bit. You must be given the warrant of office. So according to the constitutional provision in Article 81A, that mandate terminates when your appointment is revoked.
Okay. Okay.
So if the revocation occurs in the morning, you can't proceed after that announcement. It ends. So they told me, a lot of them, you know, they engaged me. They said they were called. The president informed them about the fact that he's going to review the portfolios and make some shifts, you know, but they were not given the time.
Okay.
All right. Nobody, none of them said, none of them knew the time.
But they would have read that, I mean, a few days, the media had speculated that on 14th February there would be a reshuffle.
No media predicted it.
Really?
Yes. I never heard it anywhere.
No, the speculations.
The speculation began after 1st January. You know, after 1st January, he met them. After the New Year celebration, that was when he met them and gave an indication that there may be a reshuffle and a few of them may have to give way for fresh legs to come in.
Okay.
But they were not told that on the 14th of February, expect your
appointment to be revoked or terminated.
Exactly.
Okay. So you are going to court based on the language?
No, not the language. Okay. That's the intent of the president. So you fired a certain number of ministers.
Okay.
That's good. That's your prerogative under the Constitution to do. Then you sought to make new nominations. That's your prerogative to exercise. Then, strangely, the president says that the persons that I have earlier on terminated, whose appointments I have terminated, I am reassigning them.
Okay.
That's the gravamen of my case before the court.
Okay.
So I am saying that in constitutional law, you cannot revoke somebody's appointment and thereafter reassign the person.
Okay.
All right?
Right.
But because the moment the revocation announcement is made, the person's mandate evaporates.
Okay.
There's a vacancy created under 81A. So once that vacancy is created, the president again has power, which nobody has challenged, to even reappoint that person to the same portfolio, if that is the kind of governance he wants to wrote on us. That's fine. He can dismiss you and readmit you. Oh, I don't mind. But there are requirements that he must follow. And I'm saying that those ministers whose appointments is terminated and later change his mind to, as it were, allowed to reassign them, it cannot be reassignment. It can only be reappointment.
So they have to come for parliamentary approval.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
That's all. And you see, and I give that evening on another platform, Joy, the issue came up, and I said that it was wrong for the president to have communicated in the manner that he has done. So if those were not his true intentions, they should amend the communication.
Okay.
So what do? You dismiss those that you want to dismiss, and you reshuffle those that you want to reshuffle, and then you make new nominations.
Okay.
That's how it is done.
Okay.
But they incompetently said that they were dismissing a number of ministers. Then you intended to reassign some. Then you added those that you wanted to reassign to names that you were dismissing.
When I hear the MPP folks who have defended this, they say the communication from the president to parliament, which you are a member of, is different from what many say Eugene put out there. So you should rely on what the communication that came to parliament and not the communication that his communications director put out on social media.
It was not a social media communication. That is where they lose the plot. It is a communication to the entire country and the whole world.
Okay. So maybe the amendment was done when it was being sent to parliament.
And let me tell you why that there was no amendment.
Okay.
Because they don't appear to appreciate the point I'm saying. The president has no obligation, all right, to inform parliament about ministers that he has fired. He has no obligation.
Okay.
In the same way, he has no obligation to inform parliament about ministers he has reshuffled.
Okay.
He has no obligation. His only obligation to parliament is to inform parliament about new, fresh legs that he wants to bring into his government.
Yes, of course, because they need approval.
Thank you. They need a prior parliamentary approval.
Yes.
Now, in that communication to parliament, do you know what the president did? He added the names of those he has reassigned, supposedly reassigned.
Okay.
As though he was informing parliament that I am informing you that I have reassigned the following ministers. Do you know what the president was doing?
What was he doing?
He was asking Parliament to condone in the illegality.
Okay, maybe he was just showing respect to Parliament by saying that these are.
I'm saying there's nowhere in the Constitution which says that when the president reshuffles,
he needs to inform Parliament.
He needs to inform Parliament. There's no such requirement. In fact, in our Constitution, we only have ministers of state. The president can decide to assign them with portfolios. But the convention has been that if, for instance, you are nominated for the Ministry of Finance, if he wants to nominate you for Ministry of Finance, he asked it. He could simply have sent names of ministers to Parliament. They are vetted, after which he will reassign, he will assign you the ministries.
Oh, really? But
yes.
But then if they came to Parliament, what kind of questions would you ask them in the pre-approval?
That is why when the president is reshuffling, the president can reshuffle a minister for trade to go to interior without recourse to Parliament.
Okay.
That is where the principle, the ethos...
I get the principle, but that has never happened. Has that ever happened?
Yes, because you see, I read the Constitution inside out. Every day I read portions of the Constitution.
Okay.
So there are those principles in the Constitution. So when you understand it, you can properly be guided. The president doesn't need to name ministers and mention specific ministries and send them to Parliament. Parliament is only to vet about suitability and qualification.
Okay.
Who is suitable to be a minister of state? The person must equally be suitable to be a member of Parliament. Period.
Okay. Okay.
So when you are vetted by Parliament, the president can say that, okay, after the vetting and approval by Parliament, I think that you will be suitable for interior.
Yeah, I get the logic, but it will be weird though.
It will not be weird. It will not be weird because of the fact that when the president, we've been asking the president to reshuffle, isn't it? Reshuffle simply doesn't mean that you should change faces. You can actually move people around.
Yeah.
When people are feeling too comfortable in one ministry, the president can move you around.
I understand that.
Why is it that people think that Ministry of Communication is more lucrative than the Ministry of Gender? You understand? So it is these perceptions among the people that the Constitution doesn't tie the president's hands in shifting his men and women around. That you are handling communications, but I want to bring you to gender. You are handling gender, but I think you can be suitable for communication. You are handling defense, but I think that you can be suitable. The only portfolio where career profession is required is the Minister of Justice.
Okay.
And Attorney General. That's the only portfolio that you have. The occupant is supposed to be a professional and trained lawyer.
Okay. Okay.
Of minimum of 15 years standing.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
Oh.
There's no other requirement.
I get the principle. I get the principle.
So people should take their time and understand the issues we are raising.
Okay. Okay. This is the Lowdown on GhanaWeb TV. My name is Daniel Ojo. We're getting some constitutional education from MP for South Dai, Nelson Roxon Dafiamekbo. He's trying to, if you like, put the precedent in check and in line based on the constitution of this country. We'll go for our first break. When we return, we'll wrap up our conversation on why he's asking for prior approval of certain ministers that President Akufo-Addo decided to terminate the appointment. The government says they didn't terminate the appointment and that they reshuffled them around. But we'll wrap up that conversation. And then we'll delve more into LGBT and other matters like the ECG power sector problems, the problems in the scholarship secretariat and other matters. Stay with us. We're back after this break. Welcome back from the break. This is still the Lowdown on GhanaWeb TV. My name is Daniel Ojo. Honorable, so
let me quickly conclude.
Yes.
So if you look at the communication the president sent to Parliament, he sent the names of the nominees and then added the names of the reassigned, supposedly reassigned. That is one act. Okay. He didn't separate the communication. So if I'm challenging legally the validity of that action, I cannot separate the freshly nominated from those that supposedly reassigned where I have a problem. I have to tackle the entire transaction as one.
Oh, okay.
Yes, if you're a smart lawyer, that's all you do.
Okay.
You know.
So where are we with that case? You are the reason they have not been vetted.
Yes.
And have, because now we still call some of them.
I am not the reason.
They are the reason.
The government is the reason, because you see, this is incompetence. Because you see, one communication, the effect of that termination is why Ken Ofori-Atta is no longer Minister of Finance. So you cannot tell me that that effect is different from why Opon Nkrumah should remain a Minister of State but the Minister of Works and Housing and not Information. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
Because the effect will have to be one.
Okay.
Opon Nkrumah cannot be deemed to have been terminated in the same manner that the Finance Minister's portfolio was terminated. And then you say that no, in respect of Finance Minister, it is effective. But in respect of Opon Nkrumah, it was an error, or we didn't mean that. No.
Okay. Okay.
Then two. You see, I told them that if that is not the true intention of the president, they should amend the communication. And I gave them 30 days. You
would have been okay with that?
I would have been okay. I mean, these things happen.
But anybody could have picked on it and also gone to court, though.
Exactly. So I said that if the presidency does not correct this communication, I will challenge it in court.
Yes, I remember you mentioned that you
and they thought they called my bluff. So they put themselves in this problem. Nobody should blame me. Look, between 1992 and 2000, if you were in this country, Nana Akufo-Addo was like a judicial terrorist.
What did he do?
He was perpetually in court against anything that Jerry Rawlings did that he thought that was unconstitutional. Go and read the cases. People are saying that I'm always... Look, the number of cases Akufo-Addo did against the JJR government between January 93 and December 2000, I won't speak to them. The law reports will speak to them.
So that's what you are trying to do. You're trying to pay him back.
No, that is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that this was a person who was perpetually seeking some manner of interpretation in the Supreme Court, as it were, to straighten the constitutional provisions. So it's unbelievable that 25 years down the line or 30 years down the line, he himself will be a subject of so many constitutional court cases regarding his actions as a president. Because he did it to Jerry. He was challenging Jerry Rawlings' actions that they were unconstitutional. And he got a couple of good judgments in those days.
So this one, wouldn't somebody say this is a matter of semantics? And again, how is it different from the G.H. Mensah case in 1996?
Okay, the G.H. Mensah. So in G.H. Mensah, similar thing happened.
Yes.
When Jerry Rawlings got a second term.
Yes.
It's never happened. It was a new republic, fourth republic he knew. So there was a directive came that the ministers who had served under him
in the first term,
MDCs, should continue in office. Then they said, no, it cannot happen. They must be subject to Article 78 and 79 requirements. Then Vincent Assis, I recall, because I was then in sixth form, and I recall and I was very interested in politics, so I recall the communication those days. So Vincent Assis came back and said, oh, no. It appears it was a miscommunication, so the right thing will be done. G.H. Mensah told him that in constitutional governance, there's nothing like miscommunication. When an executive action is taken, it is whether it is constitutional or not. There's nothing like a reversal of that.
Okay.
Because once the decision is made, when persons are aggrieved, they are aggrieved. And they have a right under the Constitution, pursuant to Article 2, to seek for a redress. Yes. So even to immediately in the future reverse it was to G.H. Mensah not acceptable.
But that's what you would have done. Yeah, that's what you would have done.
But I have not even taken such a hardline stance. Okay. I have advised that if there's a miscommunication in terms of constitutional governance matters, it can be corrected. J.H. Mensah said there's nothing like miscommunication in constitutional governance.
Okay.
An executive act is either constitutional or is unconstitutional.
Right.
So they challenged it, and the court said yes. When there's a new mandate of the president is renewed.
Yeah.
His minister, the tenure of his ministers elapses with his earlier term.
Yes.
So if there has to be a renewal,
they have to come to parliament.
Thank you. Recently, when the president got his renewal, his mandate renewed for the second term, in January 2021, do you know what he did? He asked his DCs to continue in office. And I challenged that.
But do DCs need prior approval?
No. But they also need a confirmation by the assemblies. You've forgotten that the district assemblies are like local legislatures. Then the appointment of the DC is subject to the approval.
Okay.
By two-thirds approval. You forgot it. So I challenged it, but the Supreme Court said something. It said that the mandates of the DCs are not coterminous to the mandate of the president.
Okay.
So, for instance, when a DC is appointed, say, March 2024, his term will have to expire in maybe February 2028. All right? His mandate will not expire with the mandate of the president who appointed him. So there's clarity there. So the confusion regarding the status of DC is pursuant to my court case has been cleared.
Okay.
It actually means that a president can come and ask DC to stay in office.
I think, but didn't President Mills do that?
President Mills did that. Not because of the fact that they have a mandate that is not supposed to elapse with the term of President Kufuor.
Okay.
But it was for
I get it.
For oiling, effectively oiling the bureaucracy at the district level. And our party people didn't take kindly to that.
Yeah, I remember.
But there's a clarity has been brought to bear. So if you have to remove a DC, you just have to fire him or her.
Okay.
You know, the appointed must just fire him or her. So this matters. People should relax.
But you know, Honorable, these are your colleagues. If they came to Parliament, I'm sure you would approve them. So why the back and forth?
Why? You think that when those ministers that were asked by
J.H. Mensah
to continue in office or to even act, in fact they were asked to act. Do you know why J.H. Mensah got them? When members of Parliament, J.H. Mensah and his colleagues, Nana Akufo-Addo and his colleagues at the time, they had come in fresh, and they were filing questions at the ministers to come and answer. So it was when they came to the floor of Parliament that their capacity was questioned. And these matters came on.
Okay.
You know, so
you admit that if they came, it's possible within a day you would approve it. You can't even do because they say Parliament is the master of its own rules, so you don't need to sit.
I cannot get a government to rethink its position. All right. If I don't tackle the entire spectrum of the act.
Okay.
So then the newly nominated as well as the supposedly reassigned.
Okay.
They won't feel the impact. Okay. If you are not a smart lawyer and you separate the action, the government will feel the impact. But when you combine the newly nominated, about 22 of them, plus the 6 reassigned, that is 28 ministers of state.
Okay.
Whose fate is in abeyance. There will be an impact.
How soon do you think this will be resolved?
Well, the Attorney General in an indecent haste wrote to the court and asked that the matter be expeditiously heard. And everybody thought that the expeditious hearing is limited to only the application of notice for the interlocutory injunction. No. It actually involves the action itself.
Okay.
And so I'm in the hands of the court that this matter will be expeditiously heard.
Okay.
But there's another one that I filed, challenging the constitutionality of the Nana Bidi-Tu's letter to Parliament. Whether
you guys say it's contempt of court and all of that.
Yes, I raised the
contempt of Parliament.
Yes, but I raised the contempt issue. But that is a circuitous process for me. I want the court to determine whether a government appointee can write such a letter to ask Parliament not to perform its functions under the Constitution. So
even with the powers of the president, even if he was doing that with
yes.
the
So
the
let's
consent.
assume that's the president's letter. Whether the president can ask Parliament not to perform its functions under the Constitution.
Okay.
Yes. So they should determine the constitutionality or otherwise of such an executive act.
But by if you want to stretch the argument, would that mean that Parliament is being stopped from doing its work?
But did you read the language? You must desist.
It says because of the suit.
Because of what?
Because of the legal
so
issues.
if there's a budget before Parliament, we shouldn't approve budgets for the governance of the country to be dealt with because there's some action.
This is a private member's bill, so it will be different, won't it?
Why would that be different? A bill is a bill. Once it's been admitted, that becomes a business of the House.
Okay.
There's no dichotomy in terms of a bill passed into law initiated by private members and a bill passed into law initiated by government.
Okay.
Once a bill has been passed into law, the law does not distinguish whether this is a private member's law or government-sponsored law. No. That is an act of Parliament. It becomes an act of Parliament.
Okay.
A product of Parliament.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's no precedent to something like this happening, like an appointee of government writing to Parliament to tell Parliament to cease and desist.
Language, you see, if you read the spirit and the letter and the opinion of our Constitution, there's a doctrine of separation of powers.
Yes.
Embedded in that doctrine is also the doctrine of checks and balances.
Right.
So because of these tripartite constitutional notions, we are supposed to coexist peacefully.
Of course, you don't have absolute supremacy.
Yes, we are co-equal arms of government.
Right.
Okay. You cannot you don't have powers in the Constitution that makes you overbear on the other.
I agree.
So there ought to be peaceful coexistence, and this peaceful coexistence demands that there's decorous language, amongst these organs of state when they are communicating.
Okay.
When the judiciary wants to communicate with Parliament, they must use decorous language. When Parliament wants to communicate with the executive, it must use decorous language. When the executive wants to communicate with the judiciary, they must use decorous language. And when Parliament wants to communicate with the judiciary, they must use decorous language.
Okay.
So
it's the language.
It's the language. The beginning of war is about language. There can be no war if language was not the reason. Okay. All right. How do you invoke war if you don't use language? Okay. It is what you are saying that will tell us that you are staging a war against us. Yeah. It's your language. Okay. So if you are attacking Parliament, this is the content of your letter that will make us know that you are attacking the integrity of Parliament. Okay. Or you want to overbear Parliament in your actions. Okay. So everything is about language. Okay. So this brings to question what you are talking about with the Bedi to Asante letter is about the LGBT, the bill, the anti-gay bill, or the human sexual rights and human Ghanaian values bill. The point people have made is the case is in court. Generally, it looks like both divides of the House are in support of the bill. So there's no confusion as to the unanimity of Parliament in condemning anti-gay activities in Ghana. But the president, for where he sits, says that there are constitutional matters in court. The court is supposed to determine the fact that it does not infringe on people's rights as enshrined in Article 2 of the Constitution. Do you see where he is coming from? Do you appreciate where he is coming from? And why do you insist that he needs to, first of all, accept it and also make a declaration on it? Okay, two things. The acceptance is a constitutional function when it is presented. Okay. How does a court case prevent you from acting as the President of the Republic of Ghana? How does that? That is not the ethos of the Constitution. That's not what the framers have intended anyway. Okay. So that's one. Two cases. One, when during the COVID, the President came to Parliament with the COVID-19 Emergency Act. All right? And it was passed and gave him extensive emergency powers to exercise. And he issued the executive instrument pursuant to that imposed curfew on us and did all manner of things. We couldn't move, we couldn't do anything in the name of COVID. We allow him to exercise that power. But what happened? When persons challenged the constitutionality of that legislation, and the Supreme Court declared that that law is unconstitutional, it's been struck down. It's no longer a law. Is that not the end of the matter? So there's a presumption of regularity of what the president does until the Supreme Court pronounces otherwise.
Of course.
That's the principle that underpins our constitutional performance of constitutional functions of state.
Yeah.
That is why when the president is elected and his election is challenged, he's not stopped from acting as the president. He is sworn in, takes the oath of office, sworn in, performs all the constitutional functions under the office of the president, attendant to that. He appoints ministers, nominees, does all sorts of things.
Until the determination of the matter.
Thank you.
Okay.
And those decisions are not reversed. Constitution says it cannot be reversed. It's presumed regular. So if there has to be a replacement, the new person will continue from where the old person left off. So when you are presented with a bill passed by Parliament, your duty is to accept it. There's a provision under the Constitution, Article 106, that tells you what to do. When the Constitution says that the law that we have passed is unconstitutional, it will be struck down. And that's the end of it. Okay. Second, when we pass the e-levy and we challenge it and the case is still in court, the president told us that, oh, you will assign to it and implement it. Pending the determination of the matter, and that if he's called upon to account for the monies collected under the e-levy, you account. Are they not still collecting e-levy? Is the matter not in court? Okay. So these things serve as a major guide to what they are supposed to do, but they are playing politics with it. You understand? It's pure politics.
When you say politics, what does it mean?
It's politics because it doesn't suit its political constitution now to do so.
Why?
They got the Minister of Finance to issue a very warped, senseless statement saying that if he assents to the bill, there are certain fundings that, as a sovereign nation, will be denied. No basis. Just suppositions. They are supposing that it will happen.
But you've heard some of the diplomats in Ghana make subtle.
Are diplomats international banks? We are a member of the IMF. We contribute. We pay annual dues. We are entitled to take loans when we need it. It's not a grant. You understand?
But you get some grants for some.
Yes, grant is grant. But I'm saying the loans that we take, they are not grants. They have interest components. They charge us interest, and we pay over time. So they cannot threaten us with such. And we are not the only nation that has passed similar legislation. Even European countries are passing. So people should wake up. People should be studious. People should read and stop being emotional about these matters.
So that's why you say it's politics. Even though his MPs have agreed with you.
He says those things when it's convenient to say so. You understand my point? He says he makes those comments when it is convenient for him to say so. He just said the vice president now says that he's also against the LGBT things. As the vice president, if you are against it, what prevents you from advising your boss to receive the bill and assent to it?
But he can only advise. Maybe he's advised him.
Who told you? The president has traveled since March, between March and now. He's done like 2 or 3 travels. Who acted as the head of state?
So he should have.
Yes, there's nothing under the constitution that prevents the vice president from acting in toto as the head of state. There's no function of the president that the vice president cannot perform if the president is not in the republic.
We say that, but in reality and practicality.
So resign. Let's know that on principle you cannot do that. So you are resigning. So it's politics.
Okay.
And let me tell you, in the constitution, Parliament is the only organ of state where members enter on grounds of politics. So people shouldn't say that Parliament is playing politics. Parliament is where politics is to be played.
Okay.
So we are the masters of the game. If you want to play politics, we'll play politics with you. Parliament is not a church. Parliament is not the judiciary. Parliament is where the constitution says political parties people must form political parties, belong to political parties. The political parties must participate in the electoral process and present politicians to go and function in parliament. So everything in parliament is politics. It's political. That is why you have a minority party and a majority party. If you don't appreciate those things, you worry unnecessarily over things that happen in parliament. Everything in parliament is about politics.
But the president is a former MP, so maybe he also understands.
He knows. I have just told you his history as a member.
So he knows the game you are playing.
I'm not playing a game. I am doing exactly. I'm on a path that he has beaten for me. If you feel strongly about a matter which he thinks that is unconstitutional, the forum convenes the Supreme Court, and that's what I do. I'm always in court about some matter that I think that infringes on some law or on the Constitution.
Okay.
And you see, in constitutional litigation, there's nothing like a win or a loss. People said, oh, you went and you lost. There's nothing like that. In constitutional litigation, your duty is to ensure that a certain provision that is hazy, that is not clear, is straightened.
Of course.
With the judicial Supreme Court pronouncement. Right. And that's what I do. So I am happy contributing to enriching the constitutional jurisprudence of this country.
I think that, people should be encouraged to do that.
Exactly.
People should be encouraged to do that.
But we passed a law in Parliament. Somebody selected a certain section, 43, and said, Parliament didn't argue it in a prolonged manner, so it was unconstitutional. The Supreme Court says it should be struck down. That's the beauty of constitutional litigation. Not the entire law. One certain section, one. Meanwhile, there's no formula for debating amendments in Parliament. No formula. They said the amendment was introduced at 5:40 something. And by 5:50 something, it has passed.
So there was no.
So it received limited attention. Supreme Court said we agree with you. So you see the beauty of how these things are done. So,
but do you think the president would eventually, the case would be expedited so that he's going to sign it? There will be a determination of whether or not this bill infringes on the rights of people and whether it's constitutional or otherwise.
We'll leave those matters for the Supreme Court.
Okay.
So, but until that is done, other matters in Parliament will be in abeyance.
Let's do a hypothesis. Let's say John Mahama is president next year. Do you think he will sign the bill?
Why not?
Do you think so?
Why do people think that John Mahama won't sign? John Mahama is not Nana Akufo-Addo. He will respect decisions, actions taken by Parliament. That is binding on him and on the Constitution to act upon.
But he will be president and would perhaps get the kind of advice the finance ministry sent to the president and say,
who says that what the finance ministry sent was an advice? It wasn't an advice.
What was it?
It was a cooked supposition. In their imaginations, they put those things on paper. There's no single authority to back what they've said. None of the agreements that we have had with the IMF states that as part of the terms of this loan, if you pass an anti-LGBT law, the loan will be stopped.
But beyond loan and everything, it's about the perception of the world, about your country, whether it's friendly, whether it respects the rights of people and it's inclusive and all of that, and how your country is perceived in the international world.
Do you know how we are perceived globally?
Tell me.
We are perceived as a corrupt country. Do you know our corruption index is deteriorated? So I am more troubled by such horrible perception of me, my country, than other percepptions that we are what you say we are
unfriendly, not inclusive.
Who says Ghana? Our sense of hospitality is legendary.
Yeah, but this could change all of that. You become a holiday December destination for a lot of foreigners.
Where is the evidence? The evidence is that our international arrivals are increasing. That's the evidence.
Yeah, but so that will be until maybe this is passed.
But you speak of perception. Perception is not built over a day, over one single transaction. So that's what I'm telling you, that it was a cooked supposition, cleverly done, or done to, and you see, it was choreographed. It was quickly done to give some backing to the president position. When the president was speaking on the 4th of March that there was a case in court, there was no case in court. But he went to meet the diplomatic community and referenced a non-existent case before the court. All right? So they got him to embarrass himself, to say a lot of things. And when that wasn't people weren't buying it, the generality of the people were not buying into it, they had to get the Ministry of Finance to issue that statement. Totally baseless.
Okay. While you may be justified in your bill and everything, what do you say to your critics who say, look, this doesn't solve the bread and butter issues of this country. This doesn't end the corruption, the unemployment, and the general, you know, if you like, people losing belief in this country? That you're supposed to pass laws that fixes the fundamental problems of this country.
You see, building a country is like a patchwork in a cloth. You see how kente is woven?
Yeah.
Different patterns, but they all go to strengthen the fabric and make it one whole. Beautiful patterns. Bread and butter matters. It's not the only problem this country has. This country also has a problem of moral corruption of its cultural values. So it's also a problem. All right? Then financial corruption in the public sector is also one of its problems. Bad rules is also one of its problems. Our inability to feed our school children is also part of our problems. All right? Our problems in our educational sector is also part of its problems. A problem in general governance is part of its problems. Not having adequate courts is also part of its problem. So you can't say that we must abandon resolving all these problems and focus on only one, which is the bread and butter. In any case, all these go together to ensure that the issue of bread and butter, welfare matters, is strengthened. We are seeking to protect family values. That goes to bread and butter.
Okay.
You can't have bread and butter on the dining table if the home has fallen into moral decadence.
Okay.
When there is moral chaos in the house. So, by all means, let's make the argument. But let's make educative arguments.
Okay.
Yes, the bread and butter is transcendental. It's everywhere.
Okay.
So, you talk about budget is bread and butter. Talk about good rules is bread and butter. Talk about galamsey is bread and butter.
Okay.
We are seeking to protect our cocoa farms against galamsey operations. But those in the galamsey are quietly telling that they are hungry. That's why they are digging the ground.
Well, that's true.
You understand? So, these are the push-pull factors underpinning these matters, or the push-pull hypothesis under these matters.
Okay.
They must all be addressed.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for the pleasure of your company. Like I said, we'll be back another time with another edition. Until then, it's bye for now.